America, we have a problem. 22 million barrels of oil per day gone. That's not a prediction. That's what has been happening for 58 days. The Strait of Hormuz, the most important oil choke point on the planet, has been effectively closed since February 28th. And right now, as you watch this video, the last tankers that got out before the blockade have already been delivered to their destinations. The buffer is gone. The gas price at your gas station doesn't know it yet, but it's about to find out. Here's the tale of two prices. Hold on now, because this is where things start to go south. There are two oil prices right now. Two. And the news is only showing you one of them. The paper price. What you see on Bloomberg ticker, what CNBC flashes across your screen, that's Brent futures, trading around $90 to $100 a barrel. That's the price of a financial contract, a promise to deliver oil in some future month. Now here's what they didn't tell you. The physical price, what a refinery actually pays today, right now, to take delivery of a real barrel of oil they can turn into gasoline. That's trading at $133 to $144 per barrel. That's a $40 spread, give or take, per barrel, between what they report and what the real world is actually paying for a barrel of oil. Let me convert that into something you feel at the pump, right? A barrel of crude oil produces roughly 90 gallons of gasoline. At $140 a barrel, the real price, that barrel costs $7.37 per gallon. Before refining it, before transport, before taxes. Think about what it's going to cost you to fill up your tank to go to work or to go somewhere on vacation. The paper price can float in fantasy land as long as speculators keep rolling their futures contracts forward. But the physical market is where the real world operates. Refineries, pipelines, tankers. The physical market is screaming right now. Here is a number that should stop you cold. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange tracks how many WTI oil contracts actually result in physical delivery. The historical average? 90,000 contracts per month. It's a lot. But for May 2026, and right now we're heading into May, analysts project 3,000. 3,000 out of 90,000? This is not a functioning market, my friends. That is a market that cannot find real barrels of oil. Now, before I continue, help me out here. If you enjoy our content here at Clear Signal, please subscribe to our channel right now. Also hit that like button and share the video with anyone who needs to hear the truth. And I know there's a lot that need to hear the truth. Let's continue. Okay, the last tanker. Let me explain what the last pre-war tanker that has been delivered actually means and why it matters to you and your wallet within the next 2 to 4 weeks. When the Iran war started on February 28th, there were tankers already at sea, already loaded, already en route from the Persian Gulf to refineries across the world. Those tankers took 3 to 5 weeks to complete their journeys. The Financial Post interviewed Eric Nuttall, Senior Portfolio Manager at 9 Point Partners, one of the most respected voices in global energy, and he said specifically shortages within weeks in North America. That interview was weeks ago. So, are we in trouble? Well, so here's where we stand today. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, America's emergency oil stockpile, was already drawn down from 727 million barrels to under 400 million barrels by the previous administration. What was left bought Trump some time. That time is running out quickly. American refineries are still running at capacity, still producing gasoline, still producing diesel, still producing jet fuel. They're burning through crude they purchased before the war started at pre-war prices. Cheaper, right? When that crude is gone, the physical market is what determines what comes next. And 22 million barrels per day are still trapped in the Persian Gulf. Saudi Arabia and the UAE can bypass the strait via a pipeline, but only about 3 million barrels a day. The other 19 million? There's no way out. It just sits there. Now let's talk about the blockade. Now let's establish exactly how we got here, because this didn't happen by accident. Nothing ever does. On April 12th, Vice President J.D. Vance led a U.S. negotiating team to Islamabad, Pakistan. One session, one attempt to bridge the gap on Iran's nuclear program, its fissile material, its support for regional military proxies. Those negotiations failed miserably. President Trump's response was not to extend talks. Let's not do that. Not to send a second team. He ordered a naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, effective April 13th. 15 U.S. Navy warships began interdicting vessels that had entered or departed Iranian ports. Trump said publicly that he would only accept Iran's, quote here, unconditional surrender. U.S. diplomacy is dead. You don't negotiate with those words. Those words end negotiations. Iran's response? They closed the strait to all foreign shipping and seized several foreign-flagged vessels. Now you have two blockades, one American, one Iranian. Two blockades on one 21-mile-wide choke point that 20% of the world's oil has to pass through. Now, the Council on Foreign Relations described Trump's strategy as betting that Iran will buckle under economic pressure before the global energy crisis forces America to back down. Now, that's a big gamble, and it's unlikely to happen. And every day of that standoff, every day the blockade holds, the pressure on your gas price increases. Now, one thing the evening news glosses over, and they never talk about it. Even though Iran's military has been damaged, it has not been eliminated. They still are able to defend their country and keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, still retains roughly half of its fast attack boat fleet, thousands of drones, and by some accounts, well over half of its missile launchers. The U.S. Navy is operating its blockade in the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea, not the strait itself, because the strait is too dangerous. Navy ships would be well within range of Iranian ballistic missiles. Every energy terminal, every pipeline, every loading dock, every refinery in the Persian Gulf sits within range. Think about that. That's not a stable situation. That's a fuse that could be lit at any moment. The cascade theory. Now let's follow the evidence to prove this theory, because this is not just about oil prices. It's about everything oil touches. And oil touches everything. Airlines. When you buy a plane ticket, you are buying jet fuel at that day's price. Airlines hedge their fuel costs by purchasing future contracts months in advance. But those hedges expired. Delta, United, American, Southwest, their forward hedges were bought before February 28th. They are repricing fuel costs right now. Those costs get passed on to you. Summer travel season officially starts on Memorial Day weekend, just a few weeks from now. Peak demand for gasoline meets shrinking supply. You do the math. Trucking. Every product that arrives at the store came on a truck. Trucks run on diesel. Diesel was refined from the same barrel of crude that's now priced at $140 in the physical market. The American Trucking Association has already flagged fuel surcharges across major carriers, making the cost of delivering just about everything more expensive. Food. Think about what it takes to get a tomato from a field in Florida to a shelf here in Pittsburgh. Diesel for the tractor, diesel for the refrigerated truck, natural gas for the food processing. And then there is this. Urea. Wow. Farmers fertilize corn and soybean fields with urea, a nitrogen-based fertilizer derived from natural gas. Natural gas prices are spiking along with oil. We are in the middle of planting season right now. The window to apply nitrogen fertilizer closes in approximately 3 to 6 weeks, depending on your region. If farmers can't get urea at an affordable price, and delivery delays are already being reported, the fall harvest is already in jeopardy, and the cost of food will increase. You probably won't feel these price increases at the grocery store until October or November. Medicine. This is a big one. 60% of U.S. generic drugs come from India. India is already experiencing its own energy crisis, driven by the same Middle East disruption. Indian migrant workers are leaving cities because they cannot afford fuel. Indian manufacturing is under energy stress. Your pharmacy shelf in September will reflect what is happening in Mumbai today. I want you to take a look at this chart. Airlines, trucks, medicine, fertilizer. This is not four separate problems. This is one problem, and its name is oil. Is what is happening right now by design? Well, I have one question you should think carefully about. Who knew what was going to happen to oil prices? Now, there has been a lot of accusations about the Trump administration and insider trading. So we do know that Wall Street knew. Obviously, they knew. The divergence between the paper market and the physical market doesn't happen by accident. Institutional buyers, hedge funds, commodity trading houses, national oil companies saw this coming. They locked in on long positions on physical crude before the escalation. They bought real barrels at pre-war prices. Today, those barrels are worth $40 to $50 more per barrel than when they bought them. The working class, the retired teacher, the long-haul driver, the row crop farmer, the single mother applying for a second job, they were told to look at the paper price, $90. Nothing to see here. This is not an accident. This was by design. And this playbook is not new. In 1973, when OPEC shut the spigot, the U.S. government kept telling the public prices were stable while the physical supply dried up. The gas lines came anyway. The price controls came. The rationing came. Here is the forensic math on who absorbs this. The average American household drives roughly 12,000 miles per year. At 30 miles per gallon, that's 400 gallons of gasoline. If the national average price moves from $3.50 to $5.50, a $2 increase, that's $800 per year per household. Add heating oil. Add the increase in food prices that are directly related to increases in trucking and fertilizer costs. Add the airline surcharges. Add pharmaceutical supply pressure. The people least able to absorb those costs are the people who were already running on empty. Fixed income, Social Security, working families. They did not build this energy system with those people in mind, and they are not managing this crisis with those people in mind. Here's my prediction. So let's talk about what comes next. I'm going to give you 3 specific signals to watch. Signal 1, the national gas price threshold. Right now, pump prices are beginning to reflect the physical market, but with a 3 to 4 week lag time. When the national average for regular gasoline crosses $4.50 consistently, not a regional spike in California, a sustained national average, that's the lag time between the contract cost and physical cost of oil closing. That's the paper illusion cracking. Watch the national average. That number will move in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Signal 2, airline fuel surcharge announcements. Airlines are required to update their fuel surcharges with sufficient notice before implementation. Watch for press releases from Delta, United, American, and Southwest. When a major carrier announces a fuel surcharge revision, particularly affecting summer bookings, the physical market reality has arrived at your airport. Signal 3, the USDA Fertilizer Advisory. If the U.S. Department of Agriculture or any other state agriculture extension service issues a nitrogen fertilizer shortage advisory before mid-May, the fall harvest story has been already written. You won't see the grocery store impact until harvest, but the signal will be clear. Now, one honest caveat. Could this crisis be resolved? Yes, if Trump accepts something short of unconditional surrender. If a ceasefire is reached, the strait could reopen. The Council on Foreign Relations believes the blockade has a short fuse, precisely because the global economy cannot sustain this. But here's my prediction. Even if the blockade ends next week, tanker repositioning takes 4 to 6 weeks. Refinery ramp-up takes additional time. The physical to paper price convergence happens regardless of the diplomatic outcome. The bill is already due. The only question is how large that bill will be. 22 million barrels per day trapped. A $40 gap between what they report and what refiners actually pay. A pre-war buffer that is now gone. This is the evidence. This was always going to hit the people who couldn't afford to hedge against it. People who don't have oil futures portfolios, who just need gas to get to work and food to feed their families. The prediction? The next 30 days will answer every question. Watch the pumps, watch the airlines, watch the farmers. As always, they've changed the deal on us, a deal they will never share with the masses. If this video reached you, share it, because someone you know is about to be blindsided, and they deserve to see it coming. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I'm David Tomsik. This is Clear Signal. Stay sharp, and I'll see you next time.